Blog Talk Radio.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this conversation about your Kundalini awakening experience or experiences. My name is Chrism, and I am the host of this show, and I would like to introduce my co-host at this time. Here she is, coming to you from the Emerald Isle.
Hello, everybody.
Yes.
Thanks, Chrism. There I am, and here I am, 11 p.m. here, and looking forward very much to the show.
As am I. But I do have to, I see, okay. All right, so hello everyone in the chat room and everybody who's calling in. I'm going to dive right into this. And today I'm being compelled to talk with you about attachments, Kundalini and attachments. And I'm not sure if I have covered this in other programs. I'm sure that I have spoken with it in a tangential way in other programs. But today I just want to really focus on it. And I see in the chat room that Emma is saying, my apologies if I disappear. Well, Emma, I understand that your internet is having a problem over there, so no worries about that. And just so people in the chat room understand, sometimes Blog Talk gets these little bugs in it, and it'll just kind of like push you off of the chat room. You just go right back and sign up again, and it'll come. It'll allow you to do that. I don't know what causes that to happen, but it just does happen occasionally. So don't let it dissuade you. So yes, today I would like to talk with you, everybody, about attachments. But before I go forward with that, I'd like to ask Mary Jean, Manisha, Katie, or Alana Seeker, Michelle Ranger, if you can hear me in the chat room. I always like to do this little sound check first so that I'm not talking to the air without people being able to hear what I'm saying. And I see that Mary Jean is responding to that, as is Michelle. Thank you both. And it looks like the sound is fine. Thank you. Thank you, ladies. I appreciate that very much. Okay, attachments. Now, what do we mean by attachments within a Kundalini context? Attachments within a Kundalini context pertain to those things of the mundane that you depend on for pleasure, that you depend on, say, for maybe as a crutch, that you have a like or a dislike with. You can have a dislike attachment just as easily as you could have an attachment that you enjoy. These attachments are things that we typically depend on, whether it's in a social context or a material context or a mental context. So, for instance, an attachment in a mental context would be, say, a calculator would be an attachment where you're not going to be able to go 2 + 2 = 4 in your head. You've got to whip out that calculator and go 2 + 2 so that you know that equals 4. And it would be an attachment or a dependency upon the calculator to do that work for you that you in your Kundalini awakening equation should be able to do, without the attachment of a mechanical electrical device. An emotional attachment would be something along the lines of being in a relationship where you're overly dependent on the person to do certain things for you, such as fixing you breakfast or cleaning the house or supplying money or things of that nature that you are just as capable of doing yourself, but you've formed an attachment towards this other person doing it, or in some way having it done for you so that you don't have to do it. Another attachment would be, of an emotional nature, would be our moods. People can become attached to depression. People can become attached to greed. People can become attached to the search for pleasure in whatever way it may come to them. It can come to them through traveling to all these different places. And some, you may say, oh, well, travel's not a bad attachment. Well, it is if you keep doing it. If you don't ever, stay in one place long enough to really enjoy it, or to, you form this attachment to wandering in a way. Another form of attachment would be something along the lines of pornography. Pornography can be an attachment because, it's pertaining to sexual gratification, and sexual gratification in some certain way that allows you to perhaps overly fantasize about it instead of going out and perhaps pursuing a relationship that it isn't based on, say, the denigration of the male or the female, or just the purely sexual bruntness of it without having to have a relationship, however in depth that would be, or out of depth that would be. So there are very, very many ways that we can form attachments. We can form attachments for the littlest things. We can have an attachment, to brushing our teeth a certain way, or we can have an attachment to certain kinds of clothing we like to wear. I know that people go through these clothing phases where, they're just wearing all red. There's some part of the clothing has to have red in it, or, look at some of the gothic teenagers, of the past 20 years. I guess goth is probably about 20 years old. And, the Seattle youth goth look where they have the black clothing, the black trench coat, the dark sockets where the eyes are, trying to make them look as skeletal as possible. These are social attachments, but they can also turn into emotional attachments. Within a Kundalini context, you do want to start looking at the attachments that you can get rid of, the attachments that you no longer need to have in your life. So the attachment towards being emotionally repressed. Many men, cannot remember the last time they shed a tear. Many women, cannot deal with not being able to be overly emotional or excessively emotional, things of that nature. There's an attachment you can have to winning, and believe it or not, there's attachment you can have to losing as well. Many psychological attachments occur for people based upon the experiences that they've had in their early childhood and even in, on up into their teenage and to a different degree in their adult years. You can form an attachment if you keep losing. You keep having some sort of loss happening in your life, and it's a big deal, and it allows you to really, really just kind of begin to frame a level of self-validation that quantifies your losses, and from that quantity of loss, you say, "Oh my gosh, I'm such a loser." Oh my gosh, I've lost this and I've lost that. I lost the gambling over there. I lost my car, lost my wife, lost my whatever. You can feel like you're a loser, and you can become attached to that self-identification. And so it's very important for us within the Kundalini process to begin to look at our attachments and to begin to weed out those attachments that are definitely not necessary. most of the time an attachment is a mental attitude about something, or an emotional attitude or psychological attitude about something. Even in a spiritual context, you can have an attachment towards organized religion, or you can have an attachment towards having no religion whatsoever, and totally inflexible with that, and no spirituality, no nothing. You're going to be an atheist or whatever it is. So you want to start looking within the Kundalini context of what attachments that you're using as a crutch. Are you just so beautiful that you don't need makeup, but you put that makeup up on yourself anyway? You put the makeup on anyway, even though you don't need it, but you just got to have that, that extra lipstick or color or whatever it is, or do you, do you polish your car because you have an attachment to that car looking so good and so shiny, and gosh, you put the tire shine on it, the whole bit, and everything, and then you go out and drive it one time, then you come back and do it all over again. You have an attachment to your car looking really, really good. Many of the attachments actually will follow some of the in a Christian context, but I think in the context of some of the great belief systems that we have operating in this world right now, Islam, Buddhism, Christianity, just to name it, Hinduism. They will give you a list of things, and in Christianity, I think it's the 7 deadly sins. Don't be gluttonous, don't kill another person, don't be stealing, don't the 10 Commandments, are really and the 7 deadly sins. They're basically talking about activities that a person would have that could bring them into an attachment. Gluttony, for instance, would be an attachment to eating. Stealing would be an attachment to not having, and wanting, and basically sloth. I mean, so stealing would be the mixture of not having and sloth at the same time, because you're too lazy to go out and say get it from a legitimate, within a legitimate context, that you just steal it. These attachments need to go away. Okay. And it's not always the easiest thing, because these are psychological crutches that we've been depending on for a very, very long time. And within the context of getting rid of those psychological crutches, we need to understand that we don't need them anymore within a Kundalini context. They are not required for our spiritual and physical evolution anymore. Yes, you can have attachments in this world that everybody else has. You got to have that smartphone. Well, even the smartphone is an attachment. But you got to have the latest smartphone. You've got to have that iPhone or that Samsung phone or that whatever the company's name phone is. And if you don't have the very latest thing, then you just don't feel right about it. And that would be an attachment that you could also kind of take care of within a Kundalini context. So there's a lot of personal cleanup that is involved with the attachment phenomena within the Kundalini. The Kundalini will start bringing these attachments up inside you, in your mind. I mean, pretty soon you'll start getting rid of perhaps your pornography collection, or if you have an attachment to drugs or alcohol, you might start losing those attachments, those addictions, and you may be able to kick that addiction really fast because the Kundalini is there behind you, pushing it away, and so the attachment phenomena within the Kundalini is basically a level of reorganizing and behavior modulation of the self by the self, being spurred by the Kundalini awakening process that they're involved with. And sometimes people can be so attached to not having enough attention in their life that they become kind of like hypochondriacs, or they become sick for the reason of attention or things of that nature. And so you want to look at your mental and emotional health first, really. The ego is going to attach to anywhere that it doesn't feel up to snuff especially when compared to other people in the society. And so it will form the same attachment, maybe with slight variations because we are unique individuals. So one person will have the Samsung phone, one person will have the iPhone, the other person, won't have any phone. You want to look at at the levels of how you feel about yourself, because in many ways, how you feel about yourself is a reflection of how you, the ego, feels about yourself. Most people aren't able to really jump into to knowing the difference between the ego and, say, the higher mental functioning self, or the Kundalini self, for that matter. And so most people they're not able to make that shift. They don't recognize it because they've never had to do it. They've never had to do it. And so, of course, they don't know how to do it. So, important things to understand. And it looks like I have a call coming in here from Toronto, Canada. And I'm going to go ahead and bring Indra online here. And hello, Indra. How are you?
Good. How are you, Chrism?
I'm doing well. Thank you very much. It looks like they're telling me that you have a question.
I have a question for you.
Go ahead.
And
fire
it's
away.
good to hear your voice.
Thank you. Good to hear you.
Okay, go ahead.
I said thank you. It's good to hear you too.
Okay. What is samadhi? I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly. What is samadhi, and how do you know you have gotten to that stage?
Samadhi would be a very prolonged level of ecstasy and bliss. It's all the time, basically. You kind of walk around in the samadhi state. It's a Sanskrit word that, without me going into the Sanskrit dictionary, but coming from my Kundalini, it's one of the higher conditions of Kundalini awakening that comes to an individual, but it's not impermanent. There's a level of permanency with it. When you're in samadhi, you have, very strong levels of ecstasy and bliss occurring in a very prolonged way. And that's, for people to have samadhi, samadhi requires that the body have a very specific set of wiring already in place for them. Most of the Kundalini awakening people are developing that wiring, and they'll reach a certain point within their development where the samadhi can come to them and stay with them through long periods of time. And yet, in the Western societies, having the experience of samadhi can be very dangerous for you if you're walking across the street, because in the samadhic mindset, you're really not in the world, and yet you are. And so you could walk right in front of a car. Okay? You certainly wouldn't be able to drive a car.
Okay, question.
Yes.
Is 3 weeks of nonstop bliss considered prolonged?
Yeah, that would be going into the somatic state for a time, but without the permanency of it. And so you're visiting that. If that would happen to you?
Yes.
Well, then you're visiting.
Yes, it is. It has been.
Yeah.
So what do you have any suggestions for me? Because
enjoy it. Enjoy it.
It's a bit scary.
Fully surrender into it. If it's scary, then it's not samadhi.
Okay. No, but the fact that you said it can be dangerous.
It can be dangerous because you're living in a society that does not recognize it, number one. Number two, you're living in a society that is run by the ego. And therefore, as you live in a society that is run by the ego, and the mechanisms and the organization of that society is also based in the ego, a person in samadhi is definitely, walking into, it can be, might be good to have someone around you.
Right. Okay, so this is the scenario. I've been in a state of complete bliss for at least...
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, I've been in a state of bliss for at least 3 weeks. and it's continuous. It's been happening day and night.
It doesn't sound like you're there right now.
I don't even have to meditate.
You sound in a fairly stable mental state right now, though, Indra.
I am. Chrism, I am. I really am. It's just that the last 3 weeks have been complete bliss, and
well, that's wonderful.
I'm sick. Yes. Thank you.
Yes. You just keep going with that. Surrender to it fully. Best for you to get out into the wilderness environment. Go into a forest or a park, and really, while you're in the somatic state, really tie in to the nature and to the cleanliness of the air and the, I know you're Toronto, so it's probably a bit snowy on the ground, right?
It is. It really is. It's cold and it's
really, dress up warm. You probably won't have to dress too warmly because the Kundalini will keep you warm. But go out into the snow field and you'll find yourself just surrounded with sacred geometry, with the snowflakes, and the way the snowflakes are organized, and the light refracting off the snowflakes and the snow crystals, and you'll feel the cleanliness of the environment, the beauty of the environment, the love of the environment. And I'm just going to have to turn my phone off here. Sorry about that. And
yep,
go
ahead.
You'll really feel the consciousness of divinity in the natural environment. You'll really feel the consciousness of the divine. In the somatic state, you should be able to really feel that divine quality. Now, for 3 weeks, I would say you're probably more in a prolonged ecstatic state. Meaning that you can go in and out of that. The ecstatic state will do you. It will do you for a certain amount of time, and then it releases, and then you're kind of back to normal, probably processing some of the ecstasy, and then boom, pop you right back into ecstasy. This would happen to me when I was doing seminars. I'd go right into an ecstatic state, and when you come out of an ecstatic state, you don't really know where you are. You don't know what you were saying. You don't know, there's definitely a revisitation back into the physical body.
Can I interrupt you for a second?
Yeah.
Are you lost for words? Like your vocabulary? No, when you're in that state.
You can't speak.
Right.
You can't speak. I mean, when I go into ecstasy, I have to surrender completely to the ecstasy. The ecstasy does me more than me doing the ecstasy. And just to be clear to everybody listening to this, we're not talking about a drug that is called ecstasy. Okay, this is a Kundalini ecstatic energetic experience. It is a heightened level of divine love that is given upon the individual, which goes beyond the blissful state. To an outside person looking at it, the person's eyes can roll up into their skull, and they might shake a little bit, or their body might be swaying or pulsing. Sometimes they can't even stand. Sometimes they have to sit. Other times you have to stand, but you don't get to walk around. Now, some of the great Indian saints like Ramakrishna, or people of that level, they could walk around in the somatic state. They could do that. They could walk in ecstasy, and you can do that. And perhaps you will be able to do that, Indra, as you experience the samadhi, but also the ecstatic state. As you experience the ecstatic state, and you need to the Kundalini, while you're within the ecstatic state, wants you to communicate to somebody or to help somebody. Well, you'll be able to do that, but it will be God doing this through you.
Okay, but can you give me an example of that, Chrism? A quick example of that.
A quick example. What's yours?
Yes.
You can respond to an accident site.
Right.
On the side of the road, and you won't be able to not stop. And if you're driving, you'll have to stop and pull over. But I'm not sure you can drive with it in ecstasy. But if you're a passenger and you're having the ecstasy experience, the ecstatic experience, you'll ask the driver to pull over. They will have no choice but to pull over because the divine is radiating so strongly through you. And you'll go over and you'll lend assistance in some way. Not always in the way that you would think. It would not necessarily be in the way of an emergency first aid responder. Sometimes you just you just stand there. Another example would be having the ecstatic state come over you and then just walking through a hospital and giving of the divine love in that context. Another thing that can happen within the ecstatic state is that you can have tremendously complex downloads of information coming to you. You'll write poetry in a language that you've never studied or spoken before in your life. Gopi Krishna had this.
Wow.
Within an ecstatic state, he'd be able to write poetry in German, in French, in Spanish, without ever having studied those languages.
Right.
There are a lot of different manifestations of the ecstatic state. When I'm giving a seminar and I go into ecstasy, it typically I'll be saying something and the Kundalini will really, really like what I'm saying, and I can feel it coming at a distance within me.
Wow. Okay.
I'll admit to you that half the time I'm going, no, don't come. Because I'm standing in front of a large group of people, and it's going to really throw me off my my talk that I'm giving. But I really you have no choice with ecstasy for the most part, and the ecstasy comes, and I've warned people in advance because I learned to do that.
Right.
And I have a person there who's remembering where I left off, what I was talking about.
Yes.
And I go ahead and I have the ecstasy, and the tears are flowing and the body is heaving at times. I have very, very, very powerful ecstatic experiences, and they're not for me because I'm around. I teach a lot of people and I wouldn't be able to do the Ramakrishna thing and have prolonged somatic right now. I need to be able to touch base with people in their ego world. And so what happens is the ecstasy comes upon me very, very strong, very, very fast, and then lifts itself off of me. And I come back to the corporeal being. And I'm I get filled in on what I was doing, what I was saying, and I try to pick up after that. But it also gives me a lot of information on where it wants me to go within that specific seminar. I never have a script, and so there's never a script for me to get back to. It's streaming the Kundalini. I'm streaming the information, and so it just basically begins to influence the stream of information that I'm giving to the people. But I want to congratulate you, Indra, for having this. This is very, very good. This is a very good development for you.
I thank you, but this is what's been happening to me for the last 3 weeks. And you named a few of the symptoms I've been having, like the swaying, the shaking. Like I'll be on the phone and I'll go into this ecstatic, the feelings of ecstasy, and I can't find the words. Doesn't come to me. It's like I can't talk.
Oh yeah, you can't talk. That's right. During the ecstatic experience, it's really difficult to use the mental mind. You just have to surrender. I've just learned that I know that I'm gonna. I can't say it's leaving the body. I'm not leaving the body at all.
Right.
The ecstasy is really good. It's not like sexual ecstasy, though, at all. Not even close.
No.
It surpasses that. For me, it's
this is magnified, like times 100 or more.
But you're not, for a guy, the guy's not ejaculating, and people aren't dripping, with any kind of sexual expression.
Right.
It's this level of ecstasy that it goes beyond the ecstasy that people have when they're having sexual union, and so it does. What she's showing me right now is she's showing me how do I say it? Well, you have the corporeal being, and then you have a higher being, like the Shakti Shiva being over that, and then you have the God over the Shakti Shiva being, and you have it's like a triple. And what is happening is the God being is reaching down through the Shakti Shiva being and straight into the corporeal person. And
is that what you call divine blending?
No. Well, okay, that's a little different. That's even worse. That's worse than the ecstatic. Would that be somatic?
Okay, I gotcha.
That could be closer to somatic, but beyond. Most of the time during the spinal sweep and the divine blending, there's a level of. It's really hard to put words on some of these things. There's a level of blending that brings you into conscious connection with all creation, and not just on this world, but all creation. You become divine in the fullest sense of the word. You step into a heavenly field, and this field changes you. And once you touch divinity in this context, divinity never leaves you. Even if you lose the symptoms and all of this stuff, you're forever changed. Your DNA is changed. Your spiritual DNA is changed. And from the level of change, you're never the same. You're never the same. You can have reference points for how you were before you had the spinal sweep, but you're never, ever the same again. And typically, you don't. There's only that one first time that is really magnificent. You can have other spinal sweeps after that, but that would be more of an encouragement and an invitation into samadhi or the ecstatic state, which you're experiencing right now.
Yes,
and,
yes.
If you're having the ecstatic state for 3 weeks, that's a long time.
Yeah, it's
that's
been,
a very long time.
And maybe, and it could even be probably a little bit more than 3 weeks.
Well,
it took a turn. It took a twist.
What I'm feeling though is it is not a continuous movement for you. It comes and goes, but it comes and goes in close proximity to the last experience. So I would hesitate to say that you're in the somatic state, but I would be very confident to say that you're in the ecstatic state. Right.
I am okay with that. I just want to put a face to it. I just want to understand it. I just want to feel, I just want to know.
You won't understand it.
Pardon me?
You won't understand it. It doesn't lend itself to corporeal mental understanding. You will feel it, and you will understand it through its residual symptoms within you. Within the symptoms that it comes, like I say, I can feel the ecstasy coming at a distance, and I can feel it coming, and I can feel it growing and growing and growing, and then it just takes me over completely. I am gone. And yet I'm not gone. Right. I'm gone, but I'm not gone. I'm not gone in the sense that I can still see through the waterfall of tears that is coming through me. I can still hear, but I may not hear physical sounds. I may hear heavenly sounds, celestial sounds.
Right.
In some cases, I black out standing up.
Wow. Okay, so how do you find a balance?
You
in my case,
you don't get to find a balance. You have to surrender.
Okay.
You surrender completely,
Okay.
but you need to keep yourself keep yourself out of the downtown area. Keep yourself out of a mall.
Chrism, I isolate in my house. I took time off work.
Okay.
I'm off work for a month. I'm off work for a month. I wanted to be with this feeling. I avoid downtown. I avoid crowds. I avoid the mall. I've been to
Toronto. I've been to Toronto, and it's a big city. I like the downtown area, though. It's just a weird
and
flavor.
How long ago was this?
About a year and a half ago, 2 years. And I went up that big needle they have in the sky there. Went to the top of that, had some food up there.
CN Tower.
What is it?
The CN Tower.
Yes, up that.
Yes.
And what I would do if I were you, my dear, is if you could take a boat out into the lake.
Okay.
Take a boat out into the lake, one of the Great Lakes.
Right.
I believe it's Lake Superior, right?
Yes.
Take a boat out into try to do it on a day when it's nice, not when it's really choppy. Okay.
Yes.
Kundalini people have a great response to large bodies of water.
And I find myself like I live not far from a lake. And I find myself like I will buy a coffee and I'll go to the lake and sit at the lake and have my coffee.
I wouldn't have coffee if I were you.
Okay, but it's decaf.
Well, I wouldn't have decaf. You at this point, I would have hot water with lemon, an organic lemon.
Okay.
Sip that at the side of the lake. This is a very good sign for you. I don't know that there are wilderness areas that are close to Toronto.
My house is overlooking a ravine.
Yeah.
So I have all that nature in the back. I have the animals. I have birds still visiting the ravine.
Good.
I live in an area where there's a lot of greens. My house is overlooking a ravine, which is amazing. The green, I still have like cedar. The cedar doesn't die in the winter, right?
Right.
So I still have those trees in my backyard. So I'm surrounded with water and nature and, the whole 9 yards.
I want you to participate with that. Now, what I would have you do, even in the wintertime, even with the snow, I would find a place to sit down or take a portable chair out there and set it up so that you can sit amongst nature, and you may have the birds begin to land on you. You may have the animals come up to you while you're in the ecstatic state. Okay.
Oh.
St. Francis of Assisi.
Well, I do feed them, so I am going to sit with them.
Just sit with them, and they will participate with your energy.
Okay.
All life is in an evolution towards the divine expression. Birds, insects, mammals, lizards, snakes, you name it. Everybody is on a evolutionary track towards a divine expression. And as you have the ecstasy, you are like a light in the darkness to many of these creatures, and they will come and they will want to partake of that light.
Right.
So you may have deer come right up to you. You may have foxes come right up to you. You may have birds, of course, come right up to you, even raccoons or mice, or don't be afraid of any of it, okay?
Okay. Well, the squirrels come right up to my back door.
That's because you've been feeding them.
I do feed them.
I'm not talking about the ones that you've been feeding.
Well, somebody's got to feed them,
Well, I guess so. So do as much as you can. Get out into that ravine. Get out into nature. Look at the snow under the sun. If you ever get a sunny day there in Toronto, look at the reflection of the light. That can take you into bliss all by itself.
Okay.
Okay.
I intend to.
And really, I gotta give you congratulations for taking the time off of work. I think that was an excellent choice for you to do. If you can get a friend or a family member to drive you out to the lake, then I suggest that you do that. If you can get a little boat and go out into the lake, I think that would be also a very good thing for you to do as well.
I would definitely aim for that.
Okay. All right. And don't be a stranger. Call into the radio show again. You've got the number. You know how to do it. And I got the number,
and I realized I don't have to pay for calls to the U.S.
Oh, that's good. That's a good thing.
Right. So, you will be hearing from me more.
Oh, excellent.
And listen, I thank you. I really couldn't do this without you.
Well, I think it's going to be done no matter what. I appreciate the compliment, but you are in the hands of Grace right now, and Grace will have her way with you, my dear.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you for calling in.
Have a great night.
Thank you. Thank you. I will.
Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
So there you have it, everybody. That's Indra from Toronto. She is having ecstatic bliss, long periods of ecstatic bliss. And this is a very, very strong level of Kundalini expression that a person can have. It's really good. It's really, really good. And I'd like to say hello to Carolyn there in Newry, North Ireland. Hello, Carolyn. Like to hook up with you sometime on the Skype or Viber or whatever. And I'd like to say hello to everybody in the chat room. And Andrew Lucariello, Manisha, Mary Jean, Michelle Ranger, Emma Travis, Lana Seeker, and hello to everybody that is listening on the computers or their smartphones, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And Indra is experiencing something that is extremely powerful, and it is a life-changing thing. And for those of you that know this and that have had experience, even in the smallest levels of ecstatic bliss, the ecstatic state, it is a tremendous moment. And she did all the right things, really. She took time off of work. She didn't quit the job. She took time off of work to really explore this and to really allow the ecstasy and the ecstatic state to explore her and to make the cellular changes that it is doing to her. This is something that I didn't get to talk with her about. She is actually being, her DNA is being changed by virtue of the ecstasy, of the ecstatic state. The rewiring of the telomeres in the inside each of the cell as it replicates. The cell replicates, the telomeres are being changed. There's a triple within the dual strand DNA that people don't recognize. It's a reflection of the two that are one and the one that is two. You have the double strands of the DNA, but you also have the harmonic reflection of the two. And so there's actually a three. And this third level of genetic DNA is actually the controlling element right now, certainly within Indra's physical dynamic. So this is an incredibly powerful stage to be in. And the thing that you want to do when you're in this state is to completely surrender to that. You don't want to try to use it. You don't want to try to control it. You just want to let it do what it wants to do with you. And then if it gives you the compelling to walk through the hospital or to give service in any kind of a way, you will receive that compelling instruction to give that service. But at the initial stages, you just want to let it do you. Let it do you, and allow that amazingly beautiful, glorious, ecstatic bliss to just fill you, completely fill you. And this is like a strong form of divine love that is just taking you over. And not for just a minute, not for just 2 minutes, but like Indra said, for like 3 weeks. Coming and goes, it comes and goes, but probably, just a little bit of ecstasy can really change a person's life. But when you're having it on a prolonged basis, there are really strong levels of change and transformation that are taking place, and it's always positive. It's always positive. The thing you want to look at is if it stops coming to you, if it's made whatever changes that it wants to make with you, and it begins to stop, well, then there's this great fall, because you feel like, oh God, you've been so high and so so into the divine stratosphere, and then all of a sudden, boom, you're not there. Well, you have formed an attachment to the ecstasy. And I wouldn't want Indra or anybody else to form an attachment to the ecstatic bliss. I want you to recognize that you're having ecstatic bliss, number one. Number two, I want you to appreciate and have gratitude for having the ecstatic bliss for as long as it wants to give itself to you. And number three, I don't want you to form an attachment. And that is easier said than done, my friends. When you have the ecstasy come upon you, you have an expectation, because it's so strong and powerful and beautiful and good and loving and complete. You have that completeness. And so you will form an attachment, but you don't want to allow the lack of ecstasy to drive you into a depression, which is, sometimes people will fall into a depression because the ecstasy has done the amount of work that it wants to do at that specific time in the person's life, pulls itself back, and that person's going, what did I do to piss off Shakti? Well, you didn't do anything. You didn't do anything. Now, if you find that you're continuously, like, let's just say that the time that you're in the ecstatic state and that time is increasing, say, with Indra, let's just say that maybe she was in and out for 3 weeks. Well, let's just say another 3 weeks she's there all the time. Well, now that's entering the somatic state. And in the somatic state, you are walking arm in arm, hand in hand, leg in leg with the divine expression. And you have become the divine expression. And even though there's further that one can go beyond the somatic state, and I forget what the Sanskrit word is for that, but it's not so much in your control. Not your ego conscious, 2 legs, 2 arms, 2 eyes, physical body expression. Okay. So now, Andrea, if you have another question you want to call back, I see you're still listening. So if you have any follow-up questions that you want to ask about this, I want you to feel free. And it just, how do you do that here? I guess. Well, here, I'll just check with you right now then. Andra?
Hi.
Do you have any follow-up questions or anything that I can help you with regards to that?
You said that you told me to go with the flow, surrender to the flow.
Right.
I want to ask you at this point, can I do anything to ground?
Going out into the forest is a ground.
Okay.
Sitting out in the ravine with the animals is a grounding.
Okay.
You cannot ground away the ecstasy, not that you would try, But because you're having the ecstatic state at all, tells me that you have a sufficient grounding going on right now anyway.
Right.
Okay.
I do. I really, really do. I'm right, like I'm at home. I've pretty much, cleared all the clutter in my home. I have a healthy diet. I have a good spiritual practice.
Good.
Like I said, I took time off work. To pretty much dedicate my time to what's happening. I'm really happy that
you have a good supportive family too. I think your family seems to have a mom or a spouse that's going into the ecstatic state. They're pretty supportive.
Honestly, they are. Like, they don't understand a lot of it, but they allow me my time.
That's good. That's very good.
Yeah, they allow me that time, and if I wanted to, like you said, if I wanted somebody to drive me to the lake, my family is available for that.
That's perfect. That's wonderful. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I also have supportive friends.
Well, that's good too. That's very good.
I have you on the group.
Indeed.
Which is right. I mean, this is foreign. This has never happened to me before, right? So It's good to know you have that support system.
Well, I just want to congratulate you. I want to congratulate you, and I want you to really, really dive as deep into this as you possibly can.
Okay.
There is a temple in Toronto, actually, right on the outskirts of Toronto.
It's in between where I am. Yes, it's like 10, 12 minutes from where I live.
You might want to spend a little time in there.
Okay. I did call the temple. I did actually call the temple, and
it's not for any of their services. It's for you. Did you grow up with Hinduism?
No. I've followed the Christian way. Honestly, for the last 5 years, I gave up all religions. It really didn't add up to me, and I gave up religion in general. I would listen to. I would pretty much use whatever I can from every religion.
That's good. That's the Kundalini way right there.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful temple. You know which one I'm talking about, I'm sure.
It's the Pickering Mandir.
Yeah, I think so. That sounds kind of familiar. But it's very, very beautiful. It's very beautiful, and there's a very strong feel of Kundalini within it. Not that the people there are having Kundalini, but that that they, if they were able to actually really invest themselves into that belief, the construction of the building and the artwork on the building is very conducive to Kundalini.
It's very beautiful. Yes.
Yeah, much like the Christian themed cathedrals in Europe do the same exact thing.
Yes, that is the Pickering Mandir you're talking about, and it's not far from me. It's probably 15 minutes drive from me.
What you'll find is you might find yourself going into ecstasy, just examining and feeling the message of what grace is telling those people there. Through the architecture, there are strong divine entities that linger there as well.
Right.
Okay.
Yes, actually, I was part of the fundraiser.
Oh, okay.
When they built that temple, I was involved back. I think it was the 90s, and when that temple was being built, I was part of the fundraiser process. The fundraising process.
I have been inside that temple, and it is, my Kundalini loved it.
Wow. Yes, it's very beautiful.
Yeah, it was very nice. And, they take very good care of it. And they have these little special rituals that they do, which the Kundalini doesn't really care about that. But the angelics that are there are very positive, very pure. And you might want to...
They put in a lot into...
Okay.
Go ahead.
They put in a what?
They put in a lot of time maintaining that temple.
Yeah, they do. They're very careful with it.
Yeah.
They're very careful with it. And ladies and gentlemen, for those of you that would like to visit Toronto, any of you, the people that are in the chat room, people listening in the future in the archives, what's the name of it again, Indra? Can you say it slowly?
The Pickering, Pickering, Mandir.
Mandir.
Yes.
It's an exceptionally beautiful temple located right outside of Toronto, right next to a busy freeway or highway, and it's just absolutely gorgeous.
Yes, it's the 401, and anybody can contact me, and I can direct them where to go.
And what is your Facebook address to contact you?
My email address?
Sure.
Is Bisram, B as in Bob, I, S as in Sam, R, A, M as in Mary, at hotmail.com.
So Bisram at hotmail.com, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to get some instructions on how to visit the Pickering Mandir temple outside of Toronto. Very Kundalini, very, very Kundalini, very nice, the good, strong levels of purity. Even as you have different people coming through, they're very astute about taking very good care of that building, and the architecture is just amazing, just absolutely amazing. And
it reminds me of.
Go ahead.
It reminds me of a small version of the Taj Mahal.
Oh, I think
Did you get that feel? Thank you.
I have a little bit of an issue with the Taj Mahal because so many people had to be killed because that guy wanted that building built. He killed all the people that built it.
Wow, I didn't know that. I don't know the history behind it.
Yeah. He killed anyway. There's a bit of a darkness to the Taj Mahal.
Right.
But the Pickering Mandir does not have any of that residue.
No. They bought that land and built the temple from scratch.
That's right. It's very beautiful. So really go out of your way to, and I would strongly suggest if you're drinking the decaf to stop the decaf and go with just pure water and a lemon if you need something for flavoring. Okay.
And you said heat it up.
Yeah, hot water and lemon.
Okay.
And you could actually add a little honey to that if you can find good honey, not commercial honey, but maybe some organic honey. If you can find. I
do have the organic honey.
Good. Yeah, and don't be afraid to walk around in the winter either. Not saying that you go out into a blizzard or anything like that, but
no,
you won't freeze.
I really have no problems with the winter. Actually, it's ironic. I was born in Trinidad, raised in Toronto, but I actually love winter. Not much of a big snow person, but I love the winter.
It's very beautiful there. Well, okay, and just feel free to ask any other questions that you may have about the ecstatic state as it visits you and you visit it.
Okay, I have a quick question.
Yeah.
What can you expound on the 1,000 petal lotus that sits at the crown of your head?
Sure.
on top of the head?
Uh-huh. Yeah,
what is it, and what is the purpose of it?
Well, the 1,000 petals, that's a symbol. It's symbology for the amount of, I'm thinking of the words
nerves.
Here. No, well, not those, because there's a lot more than 1,000 nerves. It's the knot. There are about 1,000 nadis on top of the head, NADIS. And these nadis are part of the energetic anatomy that joins with the divine. This is where sacred male or Shiva or Jesus comes down and merges with the sacred feminine that is going up. The analogy would be like that of a plant. As the plant breaks through the soil, it's going up. As the light radiance from the sun hits the plant, well, the light radiance direction would be down. And so the 1,000-petaled lotus is the entire top of the head around the fontanelle and actually following the hairline. Each of the hair follicles is a nadis. Okay.
Wow, really?
And that's why you feel like during the spinal sleep, your hair is standing up on end. I mean, it's just literally your entire head is lit up. And this is what forms the corona around the head that you'll see a lot of saints have, the halo. And then they have the extended aspects of the aura around the rest of their body. But the head has this amazing concentration of energy coming through. And this is from the 1,000-petaled lotus that is emanating that energy. You'll feel a lot of it from the temples as well. And the 1,000-petaled lotus is the awakened Kundalini within the divine merge on the head of the human.
Wow. It's good to know. Good information to have.
Yeah. Yeah, well, you're right in the middle of that, my dear.
Wow.
You're right in the middle of that.
Wow, Chrism, I'm blown away. I'm telling you, I'm blown away. I am pacing back and forth in my kitchen, and I'm ecstatic. I'm happy.
Just be grateful. Be grateful to divinity.
Yeah.
Be grateful to Christ, to Mary, to the Holy Spirit. Speaking within a Christian context. Be grateful.
Well, I've yes. I've followed the Christian way. Well, and like I said, 5 years ago, I gave up all religions and pretty much used everyone. And I am grateful to the Holy Spirit, Jesus, Shiva, and Shakti.
Yeah, exactly.
The whole 9 yards.
The whole 9 yards.
Yes.
Well, congratulations, my dear. Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, I'm putting you into Shiva Blue. You're welcome. Thank you for calling.
Thank you very much.
Okay, here we go. And if anybody else has a question about the ecstatic state, I don't talk about it so much, but I more than happy to do so. If you have on the chat room there, if any of you have a question about the ecstatic state or any aspect of your Kundalini awakening experience, feel free to ask the question there. Write it out. If anybody is listening on their smartphone or on their computer and they would like to call in, the number is area code 347. That's a United States, New York City area code 347-934-0026. So that's 347-934-0026. Feel free to call in. And I'm going to bring it on over to my co-host here, Miss Santara, who is in the Irish Republic. And hello, Santara.
Hi, Chrism.
Wow. Do we have questions or announcements? Anything that we'd like to start into?
Yes, we have both. Well, I will begin with the announcement first. If people would like to make a donation to support this work on Kundalini Awakening Systems that Chrism does, you can donate in a few ways. The websites you can go to are chrism-kundalini.blogspot.com, or you can go to kundalinisafeties.com, or you can go to KAS1, the number 1, UK.com. And on these websites, you will find a donate button, and you can click there, and the instructions are very easy. All donations are gratefully received at any time. So thank you very much. If you're in a position to do that, you will be very welcome to do it indeed. And I do have questions as well, Chrism. Do you want me to begin them?
Oh, I'd like to ask you, am I making any noise? Are you getting noises from here?
No, I'm not, no. There was a little bit there while I was talking, but not typically, not throughout the show, no, there have been no noises.
I've been trying to hold still, so good.
Yeah, you've been holding still. It's working then.
Thank you. Go ahead. Let's begin the questions.
Okay. Well, the first question comes from a gentleman who thanks you for the Blog Talk shows that you give, because he listens in very often. And he would love for me to ask you some questions. I'm going to read out what he has said. I have a twitch on my face for years now because of the Kundalini has raised from my throat to my third eye. I had the twitch for about 6 years. It is so strong at the moment, feels like my whole nervous system has gone haywire. Also, I can feel my third eye and crown chakra pulsating like mad, which I think could be causing the twitch. I am wondering if weed would relax the nervous system and might help the tension. Would that be a good idea? How about medical marijuana?
No. No, that could make it worse. And what else? I think that we asked about alcohol as well.
We were just going to get to that. Would alcohol make it a lot worse? I must admit I do have a few, not dependent, but it is a release sometimes. I would be very grateful to hear what you have to say. I don't know who else to take this to.
I would suggest that you get off of all alcohol. Don't do any alcohol whatsoever, at all, period. No alcohol, no caffeine, no stimulants, certainly no marijuana, medical or otherwise. You're way beyond these things. And what I would suggest that you do is you massage your face. I would suggest that the twitching will spread to other areas, other muscular parts of I believe the muscles, there's about 40 different muscles in the face. And these muscles need to be massaged sometimes within the Kundalini infusion. So if you can massage your face or get a warm washcloth, like a hot washcloth actually, and just lay that over your face and then gently massage your face that way, that would be very, very helpful. Just a second. I'm going to try something. Oh yeah, I turned it off. Great. Okay. I would suggest that you gently, in a clockwise fashion, massage the source of the twitch. On the face. I've had this too, by the way. It does go away. And yes, indeed, the person's electrical wiring will seem to have gone haywire. It has not gone haywire. It's just going through an evolutionary change, a transformation in real time due to Kundalini infusion. And this is for the rest of your life. And so, if this has been happening for 5 years or whatever, that's basically, you're like a 5-year-old. I mean, how much, it's like, hurry up and make it over, mommy. it's not going to end, and you just need to begin to embrace all the different manifestations of this grace happening on your body, because it is a really powerful and prolonged visitation upon the body. And as I mentioned earlier, it's really beginning to transform the DNA. Okay. And geez Louise, you can't stop. Just a second, I'm going to make a call here and have this person call in if they'll do it. So yeah, I would suggest that you allow the twitching to occur. If it's embarrassing to you, because I had that happen too, and I'd have to go up in front of these groups of people and I'd have the side twitch. I'm just kind of going, oh my God, they think I have Tourette's or something without the cussing.
What?
Hey, Brooke, I'd like you to call into the radio show, please. Thank you. All right. And she's going to call in here, and I think she'll be able to give a person a good answer. The reason why I want her to call in is it's because she has experience getting facials. So I think she might have the ability to give this gentleman a little bit more of an inspiration with regards to how to massage the face. I know to go in circular with the index and the middle finger together. And for me, I like to use the index, the middle finger, and the thumb tip together, and to go in a clockwise fashion with that. And yeah, okay. So it doesn't look like she's going to be able to do it. That's too bad. That's too bad. Anyway, so yeah, I would massage the face. I would put that warm to hot washcloth over it. I would massage the face, and I would do that more than just one time. Don't expect to have this thing go away if you don't do it in a repeated way, in a repeated fashion. So allow yourself time to have the wiring come together. Allow the wiring that the Kundalini is reorganizing to meld itself. Don't resist it. Don't try to make it stop. Don't look for various chemical fixes that will assuage your comfort zones or your ego zones with regards to how you may look or what you think is happening to your face or things of that level. Surrender to the Kundalini. Surrender to it. Allow it to do its work upon you. Do not get in the way with marijuana or with alcohol or with any kind of a drug, SSRIs or, any kind of a pharmaceutical or any kind of an herb, really. Allow the Kundalini to do the work upon you. The twitching will have an end point. It may not be as fast as your ego would want it, but it will stop. My eyes don't twitch anymore. Okay? I just let it take its course. I let it do its thing. And, it's worked out well, and I think it will work out well for you. Over. Next question, please, Amelia.
Next question comes from a Kundalini lady who recently discovered that the number 3 in a Kundalini context was a sacred number. So she shared this dream. And I wondered, would you speak about the symbols in a Kundalini context? It's short, Chrism. It is, I had a dream of 3 white rooms. I started to fit with beautiful old furnitures. The room was meant for my business in which I want to live my destination. So that is it, Chrism. 3 white rooms. Would you have anything to say in regard to that?
Not really. I mean, if she said that it was meant for her business, I would say perhaps there's a level of purity that is being inserted or suggested to be inserted into the business, that perhaps the Kundalini is going to have a say in the business, a way of expressing itself through the business. But, yeah, there's not too much more to be said. I do know that Kundalini enjoys an uncluttered room. So maybe filling it full of antiques is not the way to go. Maybe leaving it, what's the word? Well, we'll just say uncluttered and open and simple would be an opportunity. Notice it was just their white rooms. They're not finely painted with wallpaper rooms and things like that. They're plain white rooms, and that is an indication of purity. That is an indication of the sacred three, of course. Over.
Thank you, Chrism. For a Kundalini person, what is your advice or teachings about taking antibiotics when you are sick or taking painkillers when you are in pain?
If you can take pain, take the painkillers. I mean, sometimes you have to do that. I know with dental work, you have to take the painkiller. You have to take the shot that they give you to kill the pain, to numb the teeth and things of that level. And before they do any kind of dental work on you, they make you take the antibiotics. And I've done this, and I have full-on Kundalini, and she does not guide me away from that. So I'm going to tell you, and I think you've been taking antibiotics lately too, have you not, Amelia?
I have at the moment, Chrism, that's correct, yes.
Yeah.
I tend not to take painkillers for some reason, though. But, but antibiotics I'm taking those currently.
Good. Yeah, I don't have a problem. My Kundalini does not have a problem. I'm not told to tell people not to do it. Now, on the other hand, don't get addicted to taking antibiotics every time you get a little headache. Oh my God, I need to take an antibiotic, which is how people are these days. They nick their toe. They nick their toe. Oh my God, I need to take an antibiotic. They handle meat, and it's like, oh my God, I might get salmonella. It's just really amazing the level of hypersensitivity that people have about trying to protect themselves when they have the Kundalini, which in many ways will protect the person all by itself. With regard to painkillers, take the painkillers. Don't try to tough it out unless your Kundalini tells you not to. If you get a compelling not to take painkillers or not to take the antibiotics, say they have made a mistake in their diagnosis with you, and they're giving you an antibiotic that she doesn't want you to take, you will definitely not be able to take that antibiotic. And don't try to force the issue. Don't try to take control. You do your surrender work. But know that if you need the antibiotic and you're not getting any kind of an intuitive negation of that decision, then go ahead and take it. And the same thing with the pain pills. Just don't get addicted to the pain medication. Be very careful with that. Last time I had a dental thing, it's fairly strong. And I asked for the strongest thing that I could really ask for. It wasn't OxyContin. Well, actually, it was. It was OxyContin, and I knew that OxyContin would be fine, and that it would do the work, but it would also kind of floor me for a while because it's so strong. But my Kundalini did not ask me to not take that, and I took it, and it worked out well. And it was very strong. Like, geez Louise, you can't get up for like 3 days. But not stuff that you'll get addicted to either. At least not me.
So in the context of dental and such, we'll call it emergency stuff, Chrism. But what about somebody who is having, say, backache? Whoops, there goes my phone now. Let me remove that. Let's say somebody who is having a lot of backache, and that type of pain, that isn't coming from an injury, but is possibly
from the Kundalini. Yeah,
exactly.
No.
But it's quite
distressed.
distressed.
You don't take medications for that.
Yeah. Okay. I think perhaps that was the context in that. Yeah. So that would be a no, Chrism. That's something that one. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Next question. Butterfly and Kundalini, what is the connection? Sometimes when I close my eyes, a butterfly will fly by. It looks real, almost like a 3D experience. What is the meaning of that? Thank you. We're on the butterfly now.
The butterfly is a symbol of what we become, and it's also a symbol of the process that we go through as we're the caterpillar, which is what we would be here in the human form. We're the caterpillar. And as we spin the cocoon, which is, what we do when we go into spiritual evolution, we're spinning a cocoon for ourselves. And as we reside within that cocoon, pretty soon we just kind of wall off everything about this reality. We wall things away and we just go straight in to a transformation. Well, that would be the Kundalini infusion upon our body. And then as the Kundalini awakens itself within us, and as we come into divine radiance and divine ecstasy like Indra's having, we become the butterfly. So that's why the Kundalini uses the butterfly and its whole process as a symbol for the Kundalini process that we go through as we activate and awaken the Kundalini. Over.
Thank you. Is it okay to do the gym? Will it affect Kundalini?
It's okay to do the gym.
Okay. Is it okay to practice?
It'll affect the Kundalini in a good way because, the body needs to be exercised. So do your stretching, do your exercises. Don't go into the gym with, say, egocentrism forcing you to go into the gym. Why are you going to the gym? Are you a muscle man? Are you building muscles? Like, I'm building the muscles. Why are you going to the gym? Are you going to the gym to lose the cellulite? Are you going to the gym for ego, vanity issues, or to attract a mate? Why are you going to the gym? If you're just going to the gym to stay in shape, that's a good deal. That's a really good thing. And yes, continue to do that. Over.
Is it okay to practice Kundalini awakening with 923 hertz beats?
With what?
923 Hz beats.
H and Z. Oh my God. I guess you're
H
saying
and Z.
Hertz. Yeah, hertz. Yes, it is. Although practicing Kundalini, that's kind of an odd way to put it. Practicing Kundalini,
Practicing
you just like
Kundalini awakening.
Yeah, you're practicing that, and so when you finish your practice of the awakening, it's just what? You go back and watch TV? How do you practice Kundalini awakening? Isn't it something that's happening all the time? That's what it is in my experience. Kundalini practices you. You don't get to practice Kundalini. Now, that can just be a language thing, people trying to figure out, say, an English way of saying things. But yeah, there's no turn-off switch with Kundalini. It does you all the time. You don't get to just sit down and go, okay, let's see, I've got a half an hour for lunch. I'm going to go ahead and practice Kundalini for 15 minutes. It's there with you all the time. There's no time that it's not activated or awakening within you. Just, I don't want people to think, by virtue of that question, that you can practice Kundalini and then not practice Kundalini. You always are having Kundalini all the time. All the time. Over.
Okay, thank you. Is there anything to say about those beats? That would be what they are, or is it a pass on that?
Well, H and Z. It sounds like something out of a Superman movie. Or that would be Zog. That would be Hertz.
Okay.
980. Yeah, but see, that's the thing. It's the question about the heart rhythm or the heart rate. Kundalini's doing you all the time. So it's doing you where you have an elevated heart rate. So yeah, it's okay to have the Kundalini, be in the gym, have a high cardiac workout. The Kundalini's not going anywhere. It's still doing you, no matter what your heart rate is.
Okay.
You understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Thank you.
Next.
Can Kundalini energy disappear if it is awakened spontaneously?
No. It could disappear from your perception of it or your tactility of it. It can feel like it's gone away, but it never goes away. It just goes. It goes into your body and it just does things with you that are you're not able to discern through phenomena. But once it's up, it's up. Now it can be very, 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 very gentle with you to the point where you won't know that it's there. But it'll always be there. It'll always be there in the activated or awakened state. And typically, you'll have phenomena if it is the Kundalini that has been activated in the first place. And you're not just taking somebody's word for it, like some medium channeling the exalted camel herder guy from 40,000 years ago, Saudi Arabia, and the which would be an entity basically. This kind of entity saying, "Oh, Amelia, feel that you have the Kundalini now. The hump on my camel is vibrating, and I feel you have the Kundalini." Okay, so if you truly have the Kundalini, well then, yeah. It will always stay awake or activated within you. If you think that if somebody told you that you have the Kundalini, but you don't, then you won't feel anything different. Over.
Thanks, Chrism. The context of the next question is a comment that was written. You were writing about if there was a consciousness calling itself your spirit guide and you have Kundalini, there's probably a very high probability that it's an entity. And this person commented, I have asked my Kundalini to touch me in the face, on the nose or on the forehead, and I get this static electricity tittle. This is the same effect I get when I've asked my spirit guide to touch me. I get static crawling tittle effects. So is this Kundalini or my guide, or is this all a function of Kundalini? I've never gotten bad advice or harmful advice from the guidance. If I hear mind chatter that's bad, I transmute it with hyper-awareness and watch it with a smile.
I would say it's the entity, not Kundalini. And I won't say guidance because if a person is Kundalini awakened or activated, spirit guides take a step back, and they allow the Shakti and the Shiva to teach the individual. The guidance that would not step back, to me, would be of a corrupting influence, even if it's benign corruption. Even if it's benign corruption, it is still corruption. And that person is being misled in some intricate way by that entity guidance. Over.
To continue that, if I may, Chrism, is it true and does it happen that an entity will be very this way for a while until a person becomes used to it or thinks it's the Kundalini and then changes?
Right. Exactly. Yeah, that's the whole corrupting influence part of it. So
Okay.
the person would basically it'll take whatever time it takes for the entity to get its hooks into you. And then when you've come to depend upon it, it begins to twist and distort the equation to suit some corrupting mannerism or agenda that entity may have.
Mm. Okay, thanks, Chrism. Next question. These days, during my meditation, I'm seeing indigo color everywhere. That is a place with, oh gosh, sorry, where I see many humans. Oh, I think I'm going to pass on that one, Chrism. One moment.
Okay. All right.
Okay, so I hear an ultrasonic sound and other symptoms for a long time, lightly and loudly. How much effect is this in my spiritual life? Please help me. Effectful is this for my spiritual life? Please help me.
Please help me. I mean, God, help you from what? Help you not what? Hear frequencies? I'm hearing frequencies right now as I speak on this show. Seriously, I hear the nada right now. I mean, really strongly. And yet, it's not damaging to your spiritual equation at all. Don't be afraid of these things. There's no need for fear of this. The nada is the nada, or the na'ad is another way to pronounce that. You're hearing the higher frequencies. As a matter of fact, spiritually speaking, you're hearing grace. You're hearing the grace of the divine reaching through the celestial kingdoms into your audio channels, the audiometric channels within your brain. You're hearing higher consciousness. Over.
Thank you, Chrism. I have a question about Kundalini. It is clearly said, surrender the ego for the Kundalini. So let's suppose if I totally surrender myself to the Kundalini, how much time do I have to surrender? Because Kundalini transforms process can take many years. We can't set goals for a better life, personal and professional. Does it mean just wake up in the morning and sleep in the night without doing anything? I am confused.
I would have to agree. You're quite confused. Just because you have Kundalini doesn't mean that you can't hold a job, doesn't mean that you can't get out and exercise, doesn't mean that you can't do voluntary service for other people, doesn't mean that you can't bathe, doesn't mean that you can't go to the store, doesn't mean you can't drive the car, doesn't mean you can't get the kids ready for school or pick them up after school. Doesn't mean any of these things. Matter of fact, what it means is that you're inside of an exaltation of the life experience, and all of the things that you normally do, you will continue to do. The responsibilities that you have, you will still continue to have. Your life may be altered in some ways in order to fit and suit the Kundalini, but it doesn't mean that you all of a sudden take off all your clothes and run into the jungle and sit on a tree stump and do nothing. I think this person is suffering from an ideological misinterpretation or a teaching that is not appropriate. A lot of teachings out there, they go with their culture rather than what is really needed. And in certain cultures, where Kundalini is recognized, well, they have this long cultural understanding of, I guess I have to do this, and that. Well, what you can do is you can do what the Kundalini wants you to do, and it doesn't mean that you forsake your family. It doesn't mean that you leave your wife and kids. It doesn't mean that you stop, working, and it doesn't mean that you stop exercising. It doesn't mean that you stop learning things. It just means that you're learning and experiencing life in an exalted divine format that you need to surrender to. That's what that means. Okay.
Thank you, Chrism. There was a very long question.
One moment. I'm sorry to interrupt you there, Amelia. Andrew Lucariello is saying, sometimes I describe Kundalini as being in the service, but never getting leave or discharged. He says you can't go AWOL, which I'm not quite sure what AWOL stands for, but yeah.
Absence without leave.
Absent without leave. That's a great way of putting it, Andrew. Thank you for that. Go ahead, Amelia. Sorry.
That is good. So there was a long question. This man on the group has been having a top-down activation for a few years, and he's having a lot of blockage in his lower spine, especially the bottom two chakras. And the question was about his sexual energy, Chrism, and how that this builds up if he hasn't been sexually active for a long time. And also what he's noticing is that he's become hypersensitive, and also his girlfriend. And so he asked a few questions, and he's wondering if there is any way they can tone down the intensity, or if there's some sort of technique or exercise that will make it easier for his girlfriend. They've been doing the 5 Tibetans every day, and they've heard that there's a 6th Tibetan that addresses this issue. Would that help? And
I'll go ahead and talk about it. You have 2 callers down there. If you could attend to them for a second.
Will do.
Thank you. Yeah. I remember this guy's question. He's allowing the first and second chakra stimulation to launch him into an over appreciation of sexual activity, and when he mentioned the 6th Tibetan, I said, yeah, that's fine. That's a good way to go because it involves celibacy. And the 6th Tibetan, if you're going to do it correctly, you need to be practicing brahmacharya or brahmacharya, however you want to pronounce that. It's a Sanskrit term, and that means not having sex anymore. And I told him that yes, that would definitely deal with the issues that you're having with regards to an overindulgence of the sexual experience. And would, because it's you need to be celibacy. But as far as having a top-down experience, that can be a little harder. I mean, both ways, have their difficulties, but a top-down does tend to have when you're going into density as opposed to going out of density, there's a little bit more of a payoff when you're coming out of density. So you're in the real dense layer of the first chakra, and then you're a little slightly dense in the slightly less dense in the third chakra, slightly less dense in the fourth chakra. You can kind of really chart it. Whereas when you're coming back down, you're going from a lightness into a much denser medium, and you could probably still chart it. Oh, that chakra is much harder than this last one, and then the next one's even harder than this last one, and so on and so forth. So this person is having the top down, and so they are not grounded, and they do need to initiate the ground. Even the sexual act itself does have the capacity for grounding. Obviously, it's not happening very, very well with that individual. So, practicing would solve the problem, but this is a younger person, and does he want to stop having sex at this time in his life? Probably not. And so within that context, the 6th Tibetan may not be applicable. Over. Oh, Santara, there you are. Okay. I guess somehow somebody put me in the red. There you go,
you have
Santara.
you have a question there, Chrism, from Beatrice.
Okay, all right. Let me go on over there.
Hello.
Hello, Beatrice. Hello.
Hi, Chrism. How are you?
Good, and how are you? Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Fine. I called because I wanted to ask a question about healing. My fiance, he just recently stopped drinking, and he's been telling me that he has Kundalini activated. He has very strong headaches, and I wanted to know, would it be okay for me to do a healing on him while he's going through? Well, I take it because he's having such strong headaches that it's the entity that is being removed, that the Kundalini is removing the entity, and that's why he's having headaches, or?
The entity is probably causing the headaches. And the withdrawals from alcohol, from having alcohol on a more regular basis. There are levels of withdrawal that can also add to having a headache in the person who's quitting the alcohol. Alcohol becomes a physical addiction, not just a mental or emotional addiction. So when you pull the alcohol away, physical pain can accompany that activity, that action of pulling the alcohol away. So it's not the Kundalini so much, except that he has the Kundalini, and of course the Kundalini is transforming him, probably causing him to give up the alcohol. But as he has been doing the alcohol for some time, he's been collecting entities, and most of the entities are not good. I can actually see one of the entities, and it's not good. It's an entity that died in the 16th century. And it's not good. It's not helpful. And but this is what a person collects when they go into the alcohol arena. This is what is collected. Now, could you do a healing? Probably not. I mean, you could go through the motions, and you could wish him well, and you could pray for him, and things of that nature, and that in and of itself is a healing. But the alcohol has done some neural stripping, and the Kundalini is fixing that neural stripping. And as things get fixed, the pain will gradually decrease. But the fact of the matter is, there's a chemical dependency that is wanting to be maintained by the physical system through the addiction. But there's also entities involved with it that is spurring that person towards pain or back to alcohol. And then there's the damage that has already been done by the amount of imbibing that has already taken place. And this damage needs to be corrected, and the neural stripping is part of that damage that needs to be corrected. You understand?
Okay. Yes. I didn't want to do the healing because I felt that there were certain things that he had to go through that
Sure.
Probably I wasn't supposed to get involved in. So that's why I wanted to call and ask you about that, if that was okay. But so it wouldn't be good. It wouldn't be good to do a healing.
I mean, it won't hurt. Let's put it that way. It may not be effective. I don't want you to experience invalidation if it doesn't have any effect. This person has done this to himself, and sometimes we need to reap the rewards of the seeds we have sown.
Yes, I understand.
Okay.
I understand. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome, my dear. Very welcome. Thank you for calling.
Okay. Bye-bye.
And hello, Santara, back again.
Okay, Chrism. So the next question is, I would like to share a dream or an astral moment that I had recently, not sure what it means or implies. I feel like I have been given a protector of some sort. This is a Kundalini person, Chrism. I feel silly now writing about it, as Kay is our constant protector. But in this dream, I was told that about this lava man that I could call on whenever I need help and or protection. And then I saw him, wider than the Hulk, glowing all dark, burnt red. And when it breathed, I could see orange veins pulsating under its skin. Its features looked fluid and kept changing like the lava kept moving. I feel that Gaia has assigned me this protector and think it didn't matter where in the world I was. If I needed help, the closest lava man would come to my aid. I then watched as this lava man changed its shape into a long thin tube and proceeded to go into the ground. They are just everywhere under the earth. Why should I be assigned one of these great protectors? Are they a fire element or an earth element? This is just me being curious. Blessings, everyone.
Well, this is an entity, and this is an entity that's once again trying to get its hooks into an individual, and this is an individual that seems to have copious amounts of fear that they don't want to deal with on their own, and so they open themselves to quote-unquote spiritual guidance called Lava Man that is going to help them and save them at every, nook and cranny of danger in their life. And I just don't buy into it. I think this is more of a corrupting entity. And I believe that she's really just, taking this hook, line, and sinker. You don't need, Kundalini is all the protection you need. You don't need some entity that you think has been assigned to you. I mean, who's doing the assigning? Shakti's not doing the assigning, because Shakti can just do it herself. So who is assigning this special protector? Oh yes, it's Gaia. The world is doing this, and because the world has a personality that likes to relate to humans, and the world through the world personality realized that somebody needed protection, and assigned Lava Man. I'm not buying it. I'm not buying it. Okay. I think that the person is going to have to continue to learn about their own issues and learn how to face their own issues and learn how to solve the problems that their own issues bring into their lives. And having some entity affix itself to you and calling itself Lava Man is just confusing the whole issue. You're trying to sidestep personal responsibility by manifesting the acquiescence to an entity that is doing its best to get its hooks into you. It's a mistake. It's a mistake. And I'm over with that. Over.
Okay, Chrism, thank you. What would you say about the question that was posed? Without constructive criticism, how can one move beyond one's current position of habit and ignorance?
Well, the fact of the matter is you need constructive criticism, especially if you're ensconced in a practice that is ignorant of certain levels of truth and whatnot. This was in the context of a person that was practicing Kundalini awakening and starting to have phenomena, but was clearly not ready to have phenomena. And a guy wrote on the group and said, "Hey, you shouldn't be exploring Kundalini at all without the presence of a Sid master, basically a Hindu person that was kind of like a priest." And I said, "There's no need for a Sid. There's no need for any kind of a religious authority inside of a person's Kundalini awakening expression." And he got angry with that, and he came back at me and said, "You shouldn't be so offensive to me if I want to say this or that, and you should not criticize." And then a gentleman who is on the group wrote about, hey, constructive criticism has to happen. And so that's the general background to to the statement, you got to have constructive criticism, but it has to be based in truth. There has to be a level of authenticity that supports the criticism that's being offered. If it's just criticism for criticism's sake, then no, you won't learn anything. But if you have a source of information that is proven itself helpful to you and helpful to others, well then, just because it flies in the face of your cultural upbringing doesn't mean that you shouldn't be able to handle the level of constructive criticism that's coming through. Over.
Thanks, Chrism. That's the end of the questions that I gathered.
Well, thank you for going to the trouble of gathering those questions, Amelia Centaur. Much appreciated. Much appreciated to you.
You're welcome.
All right. Well, if anybody else has a question, the phone number is area code 347-934-0026. And we have these attachments to feeling good. We have these attachments to doing things a certain way. Our way is the best way and is the only way. And if you don't want to do our way, which is the best way and the only way, then it's the highway for you. So we need to learn how to retract the attachment expectation from our equation. We need to learn how to step back and go, oh my gosh, I think I'm having an attachment to dressing in black all the time. I think I'm having an attachment to pleasuring myself all the time. I think I'm having an attachment to this or that. To feeling good or to feeling bad or to feeling angry or to feeling greedy or to feeling strong or to feeling weak. What you doing there? And then I'm going to put you in the blue here. What levels of attachment are we having and experiencing? And I'm going to ask you to just begin to very, very, very gently simplify your attachments. Instead of being, say, attached to wearing blue jeans, just be good with that. Just wear the blue jeans. Or wear the green jeans the next day. Try not to let your attachments propel you into an obsessive compulsive expression. Okay. Try to allow yourself to gently but firmly take away the attachments to social conditions or mental conditions or physical comfort conditions that make you learn something different. Okay. Try to get a hold on your attachments. Very important for you to do this. Don't expect your attachments to fall away by themselves. Now, sometimes the Kundalini itself will push the attachments away. Let me give you an example. One of the earlier writers on Kundalini on the internet is a woman by the name of El Kali. And El Kali, activated her Kundalini through shamanic practices, and it was very, very painful for her. And so she developed attachments to discomfort and attachments to fear, and, a lot of attachments to smoking. Smoking is another attachment. And she was allowed to keep her smoking attachment, but she wasn't allowed to keep the other attachments that was giving her downloads and information. And, she kept the smoking attachment and she kept the downloads, but she wasn't allowed to stop them, I guess is what I'm trying to say. She wasn't allowed to eradicate them, even though she was being caused pain a lot. And then her pain was through her resistance. She didn't know to surrender. And so she couldn't surrender. She had to keep trying to get rid of the pain or to deal with the pain in some way that pushed the pain away from her. Attachments are all over the place. And I'd just like to really invite you to look at what crutches you're using to make your life easy. Look at what crutches you're using to make your life more pleasurable. And what are you sacrificing in order to maintain that crutch? And attachment and crutch I'm using as the same thing. Okay. Start to clear away the crutches that you're using. Start to clear away the attachments that you've spent a lifetime acquiring. Ask, does it really serve you? Does it serve your independence? Does it serve your surrender to the Kundalini? How does it serve you to have such and such attachments? Get your attachments out of pornography. That's one thing I'd really like you to detach from. Get your attachments out of greed. Get your attachments out of corruption. Get your attachments away from vanity. Detach away from vanity. Detach away from jealousy. Detach away from spiritual competition or emotional competition. Look at your attachments and start paring them down, taking them out, and putting them on the pile in the backyard, and letting the earth use that energy with that device or whatever it is you're attached to. And I got about 3 minutes left. I'm going to ask Amelia Santara here. Amelia, do you have any last words, my dear?
No, Chrism, no. Thank you very much for this, and to Beatrice and to Indra and everybody who phoned in, and see everybody next week.
Okay, and I see that Michelle was just typing, but I'm not sure if she just stopped. So there she's typing again. So I'll wait a little bit to see if Michelle Ranger is typing a question or not. I would like to go through some of the areas where you can get this information. You can go on the YouTube network and type in Chrism.Kundalini, and there are over 300 videos that you can partake of. You can go to Kundalini Awakening Systems 1 at Yahoo Groups. You can go onto the Facebook network, and you can reach Kundalini Awakening ! Kundalini Radiance Community, Kundalini Awakening Systems 2, Kundalini Awakening Systems 1, Kundalini People, Kundalini Healing. We have a public and a private group. Michelle is asking, is it important to understand the attachments and the reasons behind them? Well, yeah, but most of the time you'll see that the attachments have their basis in the ego. They have their basis in the ego. Now, some attachments are worse than others. You know, you have attachments on your kids. I'm not asking you to get rid of the attachments that you have on your kids. You may get rid of the attachments of the expectations that you have on your children. Like if you expect your child to grow up and be a doctor or the president of the United States. You might want to lose that attachment, the attachment of expectation, okay? But you just look to see what ego relevancy, and this takes extreme levels of honesty. But the more attachments you take out of your system, the cleaner and faster and more progressive your equation is going. And I've just been told I have 90 seconds left, and so I would like to thank everybody in the chat room. Hello, everyone there. I would like to thank everybody who called in. I'd like to thank Rosemary and Joey and Indra and Beatrice and everybody, and Santara. I'd like to thank you. Everybody in the chat room, I'd like to thank for coming in. And I look forward to talking with you next week. I've just been told I have 60 seconds now, and I better end it soon. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you next week.